vulnerability is one of those severely underrated things that Brene Brown does. For those of you who don't know Brene Brown, she does a lot of work on vulnerability, and her books are phenomenal. Dare to Lead is one of the better ones, and Daring Greatly is obviously one of the earlier ones. But she talks a lot about vulnerability as a leader, and if you're not able to be vulnerable and demonstrate what that looks like, then your other employees are not necessarily going to be able to feel comfortable with you being vulnerable to you. And I say a lot of times that organizations are limited by nothing more than leadership, more importantly, right? But a lot of times the leadership is the biggest limiter in any organization's success, scalability, growth factors, retention even. I talk to a leader sometimes and they're like, oh, my employees are all bad. And I'm like, what's the common denominator here? With all your employees, it's probably you. So let's look at you first and what you can control, and let's try to work on that first. We can only coach the person in the room, right? And so oftentimes just by making small shifts in what they do, they're able to make huge differences and make huge changes. And I think that's the impact and the relation between the coaching and change management for the leaders as well as the organization as a whole. Change management is something that affects the entire organization, and leadership coaching for a leader in an organization will affect everyone that leader touches. And so you're talking about an executive level person who that's going to impact the entire organization. But even a manager, right? Even a mid-level manager, their entire team is going to shift, and everyone they work with and touch in that organization will start shifting as well, because they'll notice certain things. I mean, put a yes in the chat if someone you didn't work with directly has impacted your leadership some way or another, right? Just because they're not your direct leader or not your direct report doesn't mean that they don't necessarily impact your leadership. So that's the value of coaching. That's the value of change management and what we do.